So, morning everyone, and thank you for coming along to our Careers Hub meeting this morning. We've got quite a packed agenda, so we're going to get onto it fairly quickly. But just before we start, I just wanted to, and Aman, I'm not putting you on the spot here, well, I am slightly. Just wanted to introduce everyone to Aman, who's now in our team. So, she started with us. How many weeks is it now, Aman?
I believe it's been about almost 4 weeks
Yeah,
now, almost on my month.
brilliant.
Hi,
So
it's nice
she's
to meet everyone.
Yeah, so she's supporting, working with Susan on our work experience program project that we've got going on up until the end of this academic year. So it's great to have her on board, and I think a few of you may have already spoken to her as well, um, because she did some of the work experience surveys for us too. So a few of you might have already had a chance to have a chat with Aman. But yeah, Aman, great thing about Aman as well is she actually attended Careers Fest. How many? About 7 or 8 years ago. So you're at Oxford
Yes.
Academy and
Mm.
attended Careers Fest as a student those years ago. So it's great that you were able to attend it again this year, but
Mm-hmm.
as someone working on the other side, which was really good.
It was lovely.
So I'm just going to share my slides. Let me just get them open 2 seconds. Right, hopefully, I'm hoping that works. Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Perfect. So quickly, just to run through the agenda. Elaine, first of all, is going to kick us off and talk about Ronnie, slightly refreshed guidance around that, and also look at some of the local trends that they're seeing coming through from within her team. A quick reminder about support for Year 11 leavers as well. And then we'll see how we're doing time wise. But what it would be great to do is just have a quick discussion, maybe as a whole group, in terms of maybe some of the things that you're already doing to support your Run Young people through differentiated careers provision, or for any of your disadvantaged students. So anything additional you might be doing, but we'll catch up on that in a minute. And then we'll just go through some of the sort of data in terms of how we're doing as a region in terms of careers across all of the schools, some results from the work experience survey that you did as well, and then some sort of important dates we've got coming up in the next month or two. Before I hand over to Elaine, though, I just want to make everyone aware, you probably have already seen it through emails you've received, but we've had a name change. And so from the 1st of April, our organisation is now no longer Oxlep or Oxfordshire Local Enterprise Partnership, but we are Enterprise Oxfordshire. This has come about purely because LEPs are no longer in existence. So local authorities had to look at what they were going to do around LEPs and how the function of what LEPs were doing was going to continue. In Oxfordshire, we are in a great position of having a really good relationship with the county council. So we are now being governed or owned by the county council as such, but we are still running as a separate organisation. It's called a TECL company, if anyone's interested to look that up later. But we will absolutely, it will bring us much more in line with Oxfordshire County Council's priorities, make sure we're really linking up with them, making sure we're doing much more of that cross-working with them as well to really strengthen what we're doing across the whole of Enterprise Oxfordshire, but also within our teams in careers as well. So we already link brilliantly into Elaine's team, but also across that whole sort of education piece within Oxfordshire County Council. So basically it's a new trading name, Enterprise Oxfordshire. We are still the same organisation working in very much the same way. You won't see any differences, but one of the things you will have noticed is our email address has changed, and this has flagged a few problems for some of you from what we understand. So can we please ask that everyone just emails their IT department asking them to make sure they unblock any emails coming from an Enterprise Oxfordshire email address. We know that Picks of the Week went out on yesterday, Tuesday, and we know that a number of you, it either went into your junk folders or got quarantined or didn't get through to you. And we think it may be because of the change, obviously, of email address. So if we can just ask you all to look at that as well. And especially as we've got some events coming up, we want to get details of those over to you. And I'd hate anyone to miss out on anything by having those emails blocked. But I will put that in a separate email out to everyone as well. But then my worry is you won't get that email. So yeah, if you can just all make sure you do that with your IT teams, that would be great. So Elaine, can I any questions on that at all? Elaine, if I can hand over to you then.
Thank you. Thanks, Nikki. So good morning. My name's Elaine North. I'm the Education, Employment and Training Manager for Oxfordshire County Council. I'm sure a lot of you I've had contact with in the past. So our responsibility is to track and monitor under the Raising the Participation Age legislation. And part of that is that we provide RONI data, which is the risk of NEET indicators. So my first question would be, can I just check that everyone has had their RONI data come through? And I don't know if anyone can put in the chat, because it went out about 3 or 4 weeks ago and we're never sure if it goes to the right people. So a little bit of an idea if anyone's seen their RONI data for their school. Marvellous, thank you. Okay, if you haven't had your RONI data, please do contact me. And we can make sure that you get a copy. So basically, it's the risk of NEET indicators, and it goes right down to year 7. And in January of this year, the Department for Education actually updated their risk of NEET guidance. I put the link in chat so you can have a look. And with that in mind, we also changed the way that we scored young people around risk of NEET, starting right down to, I will send it to you, Simon, right down to year 7. So I put up here the scoring mechanism that we're using. And I just wonder, when you look at that yourselves, again, another question to you all, if you had to think of the top 3 that for us score most highly are the ones that really correlate with our risk, with our NEET young people. I wonder if anyone can have an idea of what you think some of the top 3 might be. Anyone feels brave enough to put it in chat what they think.
Put it in the chat, or you can shout out if you'd rather.
Yeah. Okay. Not bad actually, Debbie. So let me tell you that for us, our 3 top concerns are attendance, anyone with SEN or have an EHCP, and anyone on free school meals. It's quite surprising the number of young people that are NEET now that had free school meals when they're in school, including those at risk of NEET currently. So that's our biggest indicators for us of correlation of someone being at risk of NEET. And with regard to the guidance that the DFE supplies, these are our scoring mechanisms. But if we move on to the next slide, there are additional factors to consider within the new guidance. So not everything is measurable by data. A lot of it is going to be knowledge that you have of your young person. So we've got here siblings who are NEET or unemployed. Well, we can tell if someone within our age group up to 18 is NEET. But if sometimes you have older siblings that are unemployed, they're a clear indicator of that other younger person being at risk of NEET. And there are other issues that we can't actually measure with regard to young people whose parents are unemployed. We may not know that. Low parental involvement in education. Again, that's information that you know about your young people. So one of the guidance from the DFE is that these other things need to be taken into consideration when you're looking at your cohort of young people that are at risk of NEET. So the risk of NEET young people we've sent through to you is based purely on the previous slide of that scoring mechanism. And it will inform you about the people your students and pupils. But when you look at this as well, this is additional information to take on board when you're considering if someone is at amber, because we've done it in a coding, you might look at them and go, well, actually, I also know that, there's low parental involvement, they're on a reintegration timetable. So that kind of will bump them up a bit and put them more at risk of NEET. I did a little bit of a look at our year 10s from 2023 and the trajectory of them to be NEET. we currently have, I think, about 140 young people in year 12 who are NEET, and 90 of them were predicted to be NEET from our risk of NEET indicators when they're in year 10. So there is definitely a correlation between the Ronnie data and actually what happens in the end. But those young people were all on red back in year 10 when we did that. So our risk of NEET indicators really are quite worthwhile and worth looking at when you're considering support for your young people as they approach year 11. And as much as we can do stuff in year 11, the earlier that intervention takes place, the more successful it will be in the long term. Can you have a look at the next slide, please, Nikki? So these are what the colours mean. We've done like a red, amber, green. So no colour means, you know, just normal school career guidance. Green, additional support may not be needed but should be offered. Amber, additional support needed, but red is substantial support needed to avoid becoming NEET. And again, what I would always say is if you can start that earlier, it really will have an impact on that trajectory that they will not become NEET once they leave school. May I have the next slide, please, Nikki? We talked about attendance. So what we tend to do around this time of the year is we will speak to schools about their risk of NEET. So at the moment, it's only sort of coming up to the end of April. And normally I give this data out around about the end of June. So we've spoken to a number of schools already, but I wanted to show that only in that short time, and we've only spoken about, I think, probably about 50 young people. These are our risk of NEET year 11s for 2025. And our biggest cohort are those that are 10% and below. And there's a slide later on that I'll show you that we've gone back 3 years. So you can see there's this continuing trend of poor attendance. And I don't need to tell you how that manifests itself within schools. For us, what that means is when it comes to year 12, expecting someone who's had attendance like that to turn up at college 3 days a week is probably impossible. We have to do a lot of work with young people between year 12s and 13 to have them prepared, ready to actually be ready for college or an apprenticeship even. An apprenticeship is sometimes a long way away for them. So it's a lot of moving them close to being NEET as opposed to getting them into NEET. And I know no one likes talking about the pandemic, but this is obviously some of the outcome we've had from the pandemic, but we definitely have more issues with young people who have mental health issues, such as anxiety, depression, and a number of them are not even seeking support for that. We have a characteristic at the moment that we declare, which is called self-declared mental health issues. That's where young people don't want to seek any support for their mental health, but are saying they're not EAT ready because they have anxiety or a mental health issue. So that's our attendance already, and you can see the biggest cohort is our 10% and below, which, you know, would mean they probably haven't been into school at all. Can I have the next slide, please? And again, looking at the some of the young people that we've been speaking about, these are our young people at risk of NEET currently with SEN, EHCP and free school meals. As you can see, our free school meals, 42 of the young people that we've spoken about so far, and bearing in mind we've only spoken about 50, are on free school meals. So I guess what that tells us is those that are financially challenged or in poverty are at more risk of becoming NEET. That's a really high figure to have for our risk of NEET young people. We then move down to SEN support, which is a 23, EHCP 13, and those that had a suspension within a year 10 and 11 are also on that trajectory to be at risk of NEET. One of the things we also notice within Oxfordshire, and this is again with the guidance from the DFE, is that sometimes there are local trends. So one of the things that I noticed last year is that if anyone had a missing person episode in year 10 and 11, they were also more at risk of being NEET. So just something else to bear in mind. And that has been used in the scoring mechanism within the data that we have sent out to you. Thank you, Nikki. If you could pass on to the next. Oh, that looks a bit busy. Apologies for that. But I wanted to give you a variation of what's happened over the past 3 years around attendance. And as you can see, always the 10% and below is the highest number that we pick up around NEET. So keep banging on about the fact that attendance is probably our biggest characteristic for someone being at risk of NEET. But as you can see, in the past 3 years, that's always been our highest cohort of NEET young people. And currently, we've only talked about 50, and 32% of them already at 10% and below. So it really is quite a significant characteristic for someone being at risk of NEET. So one of the other things I wanted to talk about was some of the things that we've spotted that have kind of got in the way of people enrolling in college or sixth form, or if they're going to a different sixth form or an apprenticeship. So just some hints and tips before leaving school for year 12. Don't use a school email address. We often find colleges are unable to get hold of someone because they've used a school address, and once they leave school, they can't access that email. Even if named on an EHCP, an application still needs to be made to a college. Really quite important. It's surprising how many people we have in September, October, who feel that because it was named on their EHCP, they could just turn up at college, and you do have to apply for a course. Transport, especially for those young people with free school meals, they will need a bursary for their transport. So please make that application as early as possible. Get your young person to be contacting the college about any transport needs they have. Take advantage of orientation days and open days that college offers. Really important for those that have had low attendance or been on an alternative provision, for them to actually take advantage of what colleges are offering, just to make them feel a bit more comfortable about their start in September. Are your students checking their spam and their junk emails and answering calls? Colleges will only phone 3 times, and if they don't get a call, then their application will just disappear. So please make sure any of your pupils that have made applications to college are checking their junk email to make sure they've responded to any calls or communication from college. If your student hasn't heard back about their application, call college admissions. And sometimes, if they can, just go down to the college itself and speak to someone at reception. Be aware of requirements for college courses and what to do if grades are not gained. There are clearing days at college, and again, we can always help with that. But yes, please make sure they know what to do if their grades are not gained. Don't just think, oh, well, I haven't got a place at college. There are clearing days. And please pass on our details about our service. So when your young people are leaving school, please give details about the EAT service via oxme.info. I think that's the last slide.
Yeah, that is the last
Okay.
slide. Thanks, Elaine.
Thanks. Does anyone have any questions about the risk of NEET indicators or anything that I've discussed? Claire, I wish we could, because, and unfortunately, it does come from a number that probably looks like spam. That's the problem. It often is an 0800 number, or
It's usually withheld, Elaine, and it's during school
Yeah.
hours, and it happens all the time. The kids don't understand. They don't go to voicemail. If if there's any way that someone can encourage the colleges to call after school hours, because our students aren't supposed to have their phones, and if they're calling 3 times during the school day, the kids miss it, then that's causing major problems.
Yeah, I wish I could, Claire. As you can imagine,
You've got a magic wand, Elaine. I know you have.
And one of the things that often we struggle with is sometimes we have great conversation with college, and then suddenly they won't give us information about an application that's been made, and it's like, that's weird, because we have like a data sharing agreement. But yes, but I will pass that on. I do have a meeting with college. I will pass it on, because I've said to them, can you not call from an 01865 number? That would also really help, because I don't know about anyone else. I don't answer 0800 or withheld numbers. So yeah. Can colleges let the school know if they haven't heard from a student? Yeah, I can ask them as well.
This may be a strange question. Do they leave a voicemail when they call, or is it just a missed call? Does anyone know?
They do, but
They do leave
students don't
voicemail,
like
yeah.
to answer voicemails.
No, they don't. So I guess if there's a way that they could maybe text or something instead, I wonder if that's better.
But what I also say, they do email as well. So I know that they email as well. They don't just call.
I think
Any-
text would be, yeah, if there was any way they could text, that would be, I think you're right, Eleanor, that would be so much better, because I know that they're not
WhatsApp
always
would
going
be
to check
even
their
better,
emails
wouldn't
either.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I will
And is
pass that
there,
back.
I don't know if they do this, Elaine, but is there a way maybe they could WhatsApp a link just to say yes or no? Are you at college, or something? Just a link
I
to
think
text.
it's got to be a text, Aoife.
It has, yeah, I don't think it can WhatsApp. I think it has to be a text.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
can send like I worked
Well, you
at
could just say a
university.
yes, no, are you at college, or both sort of thing, couldn't you?
The issue will be it'll be a
Possibly.
paid for service, so the college won't be keen to do that, I would think.
Yeah.
Mm.
Or just a
True.
text saying we have tried to contact you today. Please contact us, so
Mm.
they're aware.
Yeah, I will feed this back because I've got a meeting with them in a couple of weeks about bursaries. So yeah, I definitely will feed that back. It's interesting how many little things can go wrong between 11 and 12, year 11 and 12 when they're going to college. And that phone call is probably really key. And just having an 01865 number would really help, let alone the fact that they phone at, times when it's difficult for a young person to answer. But I will feed that all back to them, definitely.
Brilliant. I think one thing we found this year as well, Elaine, wasn't it, was I just want to really emphasize the importance of those open days and orientation days at college, because you've had quite a large number of students drop out of college within the first term, haven't you, Elaine, this year?
Yeah, we did.
It was over 100 or something, wasn't it? It was, yeah. So I think that it's really important, as much as you can with those young people, is to make sure they attend those days. And I know through some work we did with Meadowbrook last year that a lot of the colleges are very happy to do that, as just one or two students come along, or if you arrange a specific time, if they don't want to come en masse to a big orientation day. A lot of the colleges were very happy to do that. So I would definitely cite that as something that's important, so that they then feel much more prepared for that step when it comes.
Yeah. So I've just put my email in the chat, just a reminder, please email me if you've not had Ronnie data. I will just drop me a line and I will get that sent out to you so you can see that information for yourself. And any questions, please do give me a shout. And if you want us to come in and talk to you with regard to your risk of NEET young people, do drop me a line and we can arrange for a NEET worker to make contact. I know I've spoken to a number of you already, or some other NEET workers have. So do give me a call or drop me a line. All right.
Thanks, Elaine. Just on the back of that, it would be great if we could just take 5 minutes just to share some best practice in terms of how they are supporting their risk of NEET young people, and not just in year 10 or 11, but also through the school as well. And if you've got anything you've been particularly doing for those who have got low attendance or anything like that, in terms of trying to reintegrate them in school, and done that through any careers provision. So I know it's putting you all on the spot, but I don't know if anyone has anything that they can share that they've found that has been being really useful, or a particular case study of a student where they've actually managed to get them into a successful destination after thinking they were going to really struggle to do that. If you could just take a couple of minutes to share that now, it'd be really appreciated. Anyone have any stories they're happy to share? Claire?
It's just a really simple one. I'm sure we all do it, and I don't want to teach Granny to suck eggs. But when we've had students who are non-attenders, we've been offering alternative careers interviews. So not expecting them, we don't want them to miss out. So we've offered they can come in at a different time. Our careers advisors happy to do home visits, happy to go to different locations. So we've really extended that offer, and a letter went out to all of our students who'd got attendance issues, or for whatever reason, there's usually a reason behind it, and we had a really positive response from parents. Some were Teams meetings, some were different things, and that went down really well, that we reached out and acknowledged they would have missed out their careers interview, but we want to offer them something. But I'm sure we're all doing that anyway. But yeah, that's my little positive for you.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you, Claire. And I think that is really useful. That is really useful to know. I know it's something that Elaine always mentions, that her concern about those young people not attending, missing out on that. And it's so critical that they're able to have those conversations. So thank you for that. Anyone else got anything at all? Simon Parker, I don't know if you can hear me, but I know that from Susan says you do quite a lot of work with some of your disadvantaged students in terms of just getting them ready as well.
Yeah, can you hear me, Nikki?
We can hear you, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying with those low attendance students, we're trying to get them into some sort of work experience program, and that can be starting as early as year 10, and it's trying to match them up with a number of local companies that are willing to take these students on. It's very difficult and it takes a lot of work, but we have had some successes. And we're trying more different companies to be involved in that process.
Brilliant. And does that tend to be sort of like 1 day a week, 1 day a month, that sort of thing, more staggered rather than?
It could be anything really.
Okay.
It can be as much as getting the students to be working 4 days a week.
Yeah.
To maybe just one day a month trying different companies. So it's whatever suits really the student and the situation they're in.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. Claire, is that your hand up again, or is that an old hand?
It's just a really quick query. Do we know what the alternative providers like Tracks and so on, do we know if they have any kind of career advisors linked to them, or if they do any specific kind of careers stuff as well? Because I'm never sure if we're doubling up, and it would be really useful if there was any way of finding out with all the alternative providers if they have a careers element in their provision as well.
We can answer partly on this one. Some of them do. Ultimately, though, it's your obligation to provide all of the careers education. It's not theirs. So you still need to be doing that. And there's an expectation from most of them, if not all of them, that you will be doing that.
Brilliant, thank you.
Many of them do offer it as part of their programs, but it will, it's not mandatory or anything like that.
And it may be that they only do it on a Monday and your students are only going Tuesday and Wednesday or something like that. So yeah, I wouldn't assume that they're doing it.
Great, thank you. Anyone got anything else that they've done, they've tried that's working well, or any questions they've just got on this topic? It's something that we will revisit time and time again, and certainly something that we're going to revisit as part of our focus on work experience, which we have at our conference this year, which I'll talk about in a minute.
So I'm going to put in chat, it's on the schools page, the link to our year 11 offer. It's a little bit later this year. We're not picking up until June, and the reason being because our NEET figures are so high. We currently have about 420 NEET young people across Oxfordshire, and normally our numbers are about 310, 320. So we have got an increased amount of NEET young people, and there is that correlation again to what I've been speaking about with regard to mental health issues and attendance. So, but we do have a year 11 offer, and we're very happy to come along and talk to anyone in school with regard to your risk of NEETs for year 12. So please do have a look at that.
Brilliant, thanks.
Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you for coming along. Debbie's just put, we highlight and email links to online work experience opportunities for students who don't attend school. Yes, that's great. I think that's really valuable. We've actually got an offer of that I'm going to mention in a minute as well, which could be useful. So that's great. And then if you can tie that in to, as Claire was saying, then having those careers guidance conversations as well, I think that would be really, that can work really well. So I'm just going to move on to some of the data that I said I would share with you in terms of how we're doing as a hub with regards to the targets we have with the Careers and Enterprise Company and ultimately with the Department for Education. So we're doing really well as a hub, and thank you to all of you for your continuous hard work. So it's really greatly appreciated. You can see there in terms of the average benchmarks, we're now meeting 5.9 out of the 8 on average for our schools, which is brilliant, in line with national average and not far off the target of 6, which it is for this academic year. So we're very positive that will be achieved, and it's great to see that work being done. just because obviously you're aware that in terms of the benchmarks, there's the whole refresh. We're likely to see some of these targets change for next year. They may dip slightly because obviously with the new benchmarks, but hopefully we'll know more about all of that in July in time for our sort of annual conference. We also have a target around them achieving a minimum of 3 benchmarks. 97% of our schools are doing that, which is fantastic. We've had a few new schools this year who are just starting that careers journey. So they will absolutely be at that soon. And we hope to see 100% of schools achieving that very soon. We also have a target around achieving 8 benchmarks. The target's 23% and we're currently on 18%. We have had a big, a good 4% increase since March 24, which is great, but we are off both our target and, as you can see, the national average. Interestingly, though, we have about 27% of our schools that are on 7 benchmarks. So many of you are incredibly close to meeting 8 benchmarks. And the team will be working with you this term just to look at where those gaps might be in terms of trying to get you to that point where you're meeting all 8 of the benchmarks. 2 areas that we notoriously don't do so well in is upgrading to Compass Plus and Future Skills Questionnaire. We've always got training and opportunities and support from our team to support you with those. I would absolutely, given what we've just been talking about, I think one of the most beneficial things you can do is Future Skills Questionnaire, because you can really dig into the detail of looking at what those young people who are at risk of NEET, what they think they're missing out on or what they don't yet understand. So through doing a Future Skills Questionnaire with, say, your year 9 students or your year 10 students, you can absolutely look at that particular cohort of students and see, right, we need to get some more information out to them about what apprenticeships looks like. They need to have more understanding of what the opportunities at college are. They need to understand more about how their curriculum links in with future work. So you can really actually look at those students and work out, we don't need to change all of our careers provision for them, but we just need to pinpoint these few things and make sure they've got that better understanding, which will hopefully then support them into going on to a successful destination in year 12. So I absolutely would still ask all of you to look at upgrading to Compass Plus and doing the Future Skills Questionnaire, even if you're just doing it for that reason, not necessarily looking at, there's so much else you can get from it as well, but even if you're just looking at it, doing it for that reason to really understand that cohort of students' needs. Where we absolutely smash it, and we're in the top quarter of hubs across the country with this, is around benchmark 5 and benchmark 6. So I just want to say a massive thank you to all of you. I think our engagement with employers is really, really strong. We are lucky in Oxfordshire. We have a lot of engaged employers who are happy to support. We saw that through Careers Fest. But yeah, great results in terms of really getting those employers to meet with students. Obviously, that works well for the students who are in school or attending those work experience visits. So again, it's looking at how we can ensure that those young people who are potentially missing out are still getting that opportunity to have their aspirations raised and to see what the opportunities are. Just down at the bottom as well, I've just included a couple of bits of data for you as well, so you can see that actually had the benchmark achievement via different institution types. So our special schools are doing really well in terms of meeting an average of 6.4 of the benchmarks, 100% achieving benchmark 6 as well. And I know a lot of you have actually taken use of the Horizons programme this year, which hopefully has really added to your programme in terms of getting your students out on workplace visits, etc. Mainstream an average of 5.8 and our alternative provision post 16 on an average of 5. And then you can see there how that correlates in terms of the benchmark 5 and benchmark 6 achievement. And then also one thing that we do really look at on this Careers and Enterprise Company and DFE are really focused on is terms of how we're doing with those schools, how the schools with the most students, highest levels of students on free school meals are doing around their careers provision. And actually those with the highest number of free school meals in Oxfordshire, so our quartile 4 schools are actually doing the best and meeting an average of 6.3 benchmarks, which is great to see. That those schools are actually delivering really strong careers provision, especially around sort of benchmark 5 and benchmark 6. The only thing I would say about this, and I always kind of err on the side of caution with this data, is that obviously, as you all know, with benchmark 5 and benchmark 6, it's if you're meeting 75% or more of your students are getting those experiences, then it shows you as meeting the benchmarks. So that doesn't mean that there still could be a sizable cohort of students who are actually missing out on that. So I think, again, that's something to really focus on in terms of those students that aren't getting those experiences and how we can do that for them. But that's just a snapshot. Obviously, I related it back to some of that data back to March last year as well. So you can see there's been a shift up in every area, even with Compass Plus and Future Skills Questionnaire, but obviously still a way to go with those as well. I just wanted to share as well with you, many of you will have completed a work experience survey. I know Man ran a few of these for us. Susan also did some, and Fiona some as well, as the whole team have been involved. This is really to get us to a place where we're ready for the government's experience of the workplace guarantee. So that guarantee of all students having 2 weeks worth of work experience throughout their time up until year 11. So wanted CEC were very keen that we had some data which then supported going back to government saying this is what the current picture looks like, this is what will be needed to actually make that 2 weeks worth of work experience a reality. So this just very quick snapshot of some of the data from our local area. So we've had 34 of our 60 schools that have completed the survey so far. We'd love everyone to do it by the end of term so that we can really get that understanding of where our gaps are locally so that we can support you. We're seeing some trends in the local data. Unsurprisingly, most of the work experience takes place in year 10 and 12, but there's not insignificant amounts taking place in years 9 and 11 as well. And in fact, I was interested to see that there is quite a bit of work experience taking place in year 11, which is great that students at that opportunity are getting to go out as well. So that was interesting to see. Still big gaps around year 7s and 8s getting those experiences of the workplace as well. And that, as I said, it can be visits, it can be shorter, it can be linked to curriculum visits as well. So lots of different ways that can take place. In terms of when the majority of them take place, unsurprisingly, it's the summer term, although there's a significant number that take place in the spring term as well. But again, that shows the pressure on demand in terms of everyone looking for placements in the summer. Traditional longer experience is still absolutely the most common delivery format in Oxfordshire. But as I said, there's lots of other things that people are doing now. So a large number of you are going out on employer visits. A large number of you already are linking curriculum projects or curriculum visits into making sure careers becomes part of that as well. We've got the day release, which we've already, Simon already mentioned that he's doing with some of his students, and others of you will be as well. So there is that variety out there, and I think it's up to us to sort of work with you to support what else you can do. In terms of sourcing work experience, there is a huge amount of onus on the schools network to support finding work experience, which I'm sure you're very much aware of, and I'm sure creates some internal sourcing sort of resources for you. Parents, though, are quite widely used, and learners themselves in terms of self-organising as well. One thing I noticed when I looked at the national data where we don't do so well as other areas is around contacts from staff as well. So a lot of areas seem to be using contacts from staff. So again, whether that's through curriculum projects they're running, etc. So something that we might want to have a look at how we can engage staff from across the school to support finding placements for students in the future. Resourcing budget, unsurprisingly, 56% of you have got less than 2k, and a number of you also left that area as blank as well as an unknown. But absolutely, there's a real expectation on careers leaders to support and coordinate finding work experience. So there is a spread with some schools have admin time as well, and that support from class tutors, but in most instances, the majority of instances, it's the careers leader who really has to coordinate and make that happen. So be really useful to obviously share this back, not just for us to look at internally, but to share this back as well with senior leadership teams within your school so they can understand the real strains on that, and also we'll look at mirroring that with a national average when that comes out, so we can see if there's any differences there as well. And then finally, engagement with parents and carers, that's pretty low at the moment, other than that introduction to work experience. So actually getting parents involved further down the line, with getting them involved in sort of like the outcome of the work experience celebration stuff, sort of introducing them to the employer, etc., getting them more engaged, doesn't happen. And I completely understand that is probably completely down to resource and time limits, as we've already seen from the previous slides as well, but just something that we will be sharing back, will be shared back with DFE, is how schools are able, given better resources, to be better able to share with parents throughout the whole process. And then that ongoing engagement with employers post-experience largely relates to when you might have opportunities or other events that you're running, or then more and more of you are doing, I've got newsletters in place as well, but there are still a significant number of you who just do contact them about work experience. So again, opportunities to obviously get them involved in other ways, and to keep that sort of that communication year round, I think, is really important in terms of building up your employer engagement and your database of employers you can reach out to. So that was just a quick snapshot on the work experience data. Does anyone have any questions on any of that at all, or have any thoughts? Oh, I can see Debbie's put something in the message. We have had feedback from some of our local employers who previously supported works but no longer do, and the main reason was their insurance requiring work students to be at least 16 years old and requiring their staff to be DBS checked. Is anyone else having these issues? That shouldn't be an issue, Debbie, in terms of their insurance. They obviously it depends what type of experience is, whether it's out. There are some obviously areas from a health and safety perspective where it can't happen, but it shouldn't be so much of an issue. And in terms of being DBS checked, unless a student is going to be on their own, business policy, Sharon, you're getting that as well. Okay, we need to do something else out to employers then.
We're getting this more and more, and it's some of our biggest employers. So Lucy Electric, who've supported us for years, and even the community engagement officer, I met with them over Easter, and she said, look, we really want to support, but we've been told no, we can't offer it. And they always have, and now they're saying no.
Okay,
it's a real worry.
No. Yeah, no, that absolutely is. Thank you for that feedback. We will take that as a team to look at that, and we do regular newsletters out to our employers. So it might be we need to do a re-education piece for them in terms of how that actually works. And also we can create something for you to get out to. I think we have done it previously. I will look back and see when we did that, but create something for you that you can then share with employers around the insurance piece as well.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah,
because that seems to be the biggest thing, is that it's they want to support, but their insurance is telling them no.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And wow, Sharon, that sounds a lot of parents. You know, they're having to contact that many employers as well.
I've had from quite a few employers that they will, like, if it's parents contacting them, they will say no, like just out of principle, because they want the young person to contact them. I'm not saying I agree with it, but that may be why you're seeing more of that. I've had quite a lot of employers saying that they want to hear from young people directly, not parents and carers.
Yeah, that's a good point, Eleanor. So maybe it's about parents supporting that contact rather than making that contact themselves. But then having that, they're no longer, they are still teenagers, but I know it's not always easy to get the students themselves to be that proactive in terms of that support, that contact. So yeah, I can understand why parents in a lot of instances do take that on. But maybe that is a little, that we can take these thoughts away. We are going to have, so if I go on to my next slide, and sorry, this is really busy, but I'll be sending it out, and I'll send it out with relevant links as well. So if I just go straight to having a conference, our annual conference, which, as you know, we do every year. Last year was at Williams. It's actually going to be at BMW this year, and we've got a date of the 8th of July. I'm going to send out an Eventbrite invite after this meeting for you to be able to sign up for that. And we're going to invite both yourselves, and if you're not SLT yourself and you want to bring someone for your SLT contact along with you as well, then they will be very welcome to attend as well. And we're going to really focus 8th of July is a Tuesday. Is it the 7th? Have I put the wrong date down? If that's the case, then it is the Monday. So apologies if I put the wrong date down. I'm just looking at my calendar now. Yes, you're right. It is the 7th. Sorry. I will change that. So yeah, we're going to invite SLT as well. So, you know, you can at least have 2 of you from your school attend, and work experience of the workplace is going to be a big part of that. So in terms of sort of sharing practice, any concerns, looking at where those gaps are, looking at what resources we need to really support you with this in the future. So absolutely that will be top of the agenda for that day, and we'll also be looking at the Gatsby benchmarks and the changes to those as well in terms of the questions. So all of the things you put on here today, we'll look at those in advance of that as well, and see what we'll be doing. It may well be we at the moment, this feedback is obviously going back to DFE and to the government in terms of the struggles that schools are having. We are feeding all of this back into them, and so what resource will then come out of that, we're just not sure at the moment, but hopefully something will come that will make it easier for many of us. Hopefully there'll be a larger sort of nationwide campaign. It's what we're asking for, to really get more employers engaged in work experience and to do a lot of that understanding of what's needed, and that education around offering work experience to employers is something that we won't just do locally, but hopefully it will be done nationally as well to really make this work. But we will be spending that day really focused around that and getting us all sort of sharing and collaborating and working on that together. That day will also include a marketplace as well. So as previously, we'll have training providers there and other providers who can support your careers provision, which you can have a conversation with as well. So we will park those issues until that. I've seen everything in the chat, and we'll take that forward and we'll have a discussion about those before we have that session as well. So we'll make sure that we highlight all of those on that day. Just before I move onto this slide though, anything else particularly around work experience, just please do pop it in the chat or put your hand up, and we'll make sure we take that away with us. So I just wanted to go through some of the highlights as well, in terms of what we have been up to, but more importantly, what we've got coming up. So apprenticeship webinars happened back in National Apprenticeship Week, really well received. As you can see, over 1,300 people watched the webinars live. Over 2,000 people have watched them on demand as well. I'll get the links out again to everyone so that you can share them with parents and carers and teachers as well. Careers Fest, our biggest yet, I would say absolutely our most successful yet in terms of both the feedback from students, careers leaders and the exhibitors as well. A brilliant Twilight session. So thank you to all of you who shared the comms about the Twilight session out to your parents and families. Really well attended, and best thing I think from us that we saw really positive feedback from parents, with 100% of parents saying they would absolutely suggest that others attend it in the future. But what was great was we had a real mix of parents this year as well. So you know, we had students who were low attenders who were struggling to know what to do next. We had students who were in college but thinking of dropping out and thinking what they could do instead. So we had a real good mix of students who weren't all necessarily, I want to go and do an apprenticeship, this is what I know I want to do, but a lot of students who were in that sort of space of not quite sure what their next step was. And we were really well supported by Vicky Franklin as well, who came along on the evening and supported those students who were struggling with next steps to really help them think about. She's a careers advisor who I know some of you know, and she supported some of them in terms of helping them think about that next step and giving that confidence for them to go and actually have those discussions on the stands as well. So the Twilight session was really successful this year, really impactful. So thank you for sharing it, and yeah, please continue to do that in future years as well. The Horizons programme, it's going well. We've had 21 schools who've taken up visits. We've had a higher proportion of SEND schools who have been able to make use of the programme than our mainstream schools. And I'm sure there are reasons and challenges around that, which we will look to get your feedback on when we evaluate the programme in total. But we have had 36 visits take place. We've got 8 more confirmed, and another 10 available to book throughout May and July. So I'll share those with people. Maria, I don't know if you're on the, are you on the call, Maria Mainwaring? Because you've been to quite a few of these, haven't you?
Hi,
From
Nikki.
Oxford Academy. Hi.
Yes, yeah,
I just
I'm
wondered
here.
if you had any feedback on how those have been for you and how easy you found it as a mainstream school in terms of getting your students out for them.
For the work experience visits.
For the Horizons programme, the
Yeah.
workplace visits, yeah.
Yeah, they've been absolutely, they've been amazing. So we've done 2 at the moment. So we went to Banbury Body Shop, and we've also went to Pro Drive, and we've got another Pro Drive visit coming as well. And I just take a small group of students, and I take somebody from the sort of like the support team with me as well, and I drive the minibus. And it's been working with Duck 2 has been just smashing. Everything is sort of like sorted for you. I have had to make contact with Sean, I think it is, at Pro Drive. He just wanted a few sort of like details, but I think that was just sort of like more for reassurance with him, so he definitely knew that we were coming. But they've been really well delivered, and well received by the students. They constantly sort of like ask me sort of like, well, when's our next visit, miss? When's our next visit? Yeah, they've been great. The only thing I would like is to be able to take more students.
Yeah.
And
I realise that's one of the issues with our mainstream schools, is sometimes taking out a small group of students is a challenge in terms of being able to actually resource that in terms of people going out with them.
Yeah, it's sort of like staffing, and the students are talking amongst themselves quite a lot, and they're hearing how good the visits are and how interesting they are, and other students would like to sort of like tag along as well.
Yeah, no, thank you.
I mean, that's a positive. That's a positive as far as I'm concerned.
Thanks, Maria. And I would, I know there are a number of others you on the call who have taken groups of students out on visits, and I would urge all of you, if you can, to look to book one potentially for the end of the year, just to see how that works, and then we can obviously get your feedback in terms of what we do next year, in terms of whether we continue something or do something similar or tweak it slightly. Mock assessment centres, they've been happening as well. We've had over 100 students attend 3 apprenticeship mock assessment centres. Simon Sterland, I'm going to pick on you because you came to the most recent one at OCC. We have got another one booked to take place at Abbott on the 20th of June. Susan sent out an invite to that yesterday. Hopefully you all received it, although because we're having this issue with our emails, you may not have, so let us know if you haven't. But Simon, did you just very quickly want to say how it was when you attended the OCC one? Or you're on mute.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah, we took a group of year 10s and a group of year 12s into Oxford, and they absolutely loved it. What they loved most is the fact that it was a series of different events throughout the day. They had a talk from all of the employees who talked about their companies and what their companies can provide in view of apprenticeships, but also then they had hands-on activities, which is like part of the selection process. And they enjoyed those, working with students from different schools that they hadn't met before. And then they all engaged in a series of one-to-one interviews as well, which I think was a big eye-opener for them, to be honest, because it's the first time a lot of them had that experience. So that was really useful, yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Simon. How were they feeling afterwards? Do you think the feedback again we've had from that is they all felt very positive afterwards, but
yeah, I mean, they all loved it.
The conversations
I chatted, sorry.
Yeah, just from the conversations you had.
Yeah, I chatted to the students afterwards, like up to a week afterwards, and they were still talking about it and telling me how useful it was and how much it's managed to prepare them for their next stage. So yeah, it was good.
Brilliant. And that is our cornerstone employers who have collaborated to run those days. As I said, there's another one coming up in June, so do book students onto that, but I'm hoping it's something we'll be able to continue next year as well, because I think it has been really valuable. Thank you for that, Simon. So just wanted to flag, obviously we've got careers impact system, which is ongoing. Apprenticeship ambassadors, don't forget to use those as that as a resource as well. I'm going to dip straight into those things that are coming up because I realise we've only got a few minutes left. First of all, purely just out of interest for you all, the Careers and Enterprise Company have a trust community of improvement. The River Learning Trust have joined that community improvement now. It is open to any trust to join, and we are having conversations in the coming weeks with Gallery Trust and Propeller Trust as well about joining that community of improvement. It's just a way of getting the trust more engaged at their level in terms of careers and bringing their schools together to sort of share best practice within that community. So we are running a day with the CEC for the River Learning Trust on the 1st of May. So if you are in a trust that you think, and we will be reaching out to all trusts across Oxfordshire, but if you're in a trust that you think might be interested in joining that community, please do let us know. Campus Plus, fully embedding Campus Plus, great opportunity for training on that and to see the value of it on the 13th of May. That's virtual training we've got coming up. We have also, I mentioned before, got a virtual work experience opportunity coming up with SpringPod. That will be launched late May, so hopefully it will coincide with a lot of your work experience weeks. So if you have students who haven't managed to find something, hopefully that's something that they can also take full advantage of as well. So there will be a page, actually we're doing it in collaboration with Buckinghamshire Skills Hub, so there will be a page for the two of us, and there'll be multiple different types of opportunities that the students can do across different sectors. I've mentioned the mock assessment day. Campus completions, the team will be in touch with you to organise a date to do those before the 27th of June, before the end of the year. So we will be able to then also use that data when we talk to you. We meet you on the 7th of July for the conference, and also be able to use that data to get some head teacher reports out as we do every year. We have another teacher encounter coming out in the space sector in July. We'll get the date out to that for you to share with your teachers. Quick reminder about the Aspirations Day for special schools, which is next year on the 13th of October, well, not next academic year, on the 13th of October. So a date for our special schools diaries. Internal leadership reviews, I mentioned we've had 6 schools complete that. We're actually doing the first peer-to-peer review next week. So Eleanor and I are doing that with 3 of our special schools, Ifley Academy, Mabel Pritchard and Fitzwarren. So hopefully that will be a great experience for all of them in terms of learning from each other and sharing best practice. And we'd love to look at getting more of those in the diary, you know, either this term or certainly sort of September, October, November time. If any of you are wanting to do those sort of peer-to-peer reviews and really sort of get support from each other at that deeper level around careers, and to really sort of dig into your areas, your priority areas, and get advice and best practice from others around those as well. And then we've got a couple of new guides that we'll be launching this term as well, which we'll get out to all of you as and when they're ready to go. So that's just a quick sort of thing in terms of ensuring that people haven't missed things like Horizons programme, the mock assessment days, etc., the webinars that are there on demand, making sure that you've all had access to those, making sure you're using the apprenticeship ambassadors where it's relevant, but also some of those key important dates coming up for this term as well. But I'll get that out to everyone via email as well, and also with the various links included, so that you can access those things directly. But does anyone have any question on that at all? Any questions on any of those, or any thoughts? No, brilliant. Well, thank you very much. I think we're dead on 10 o'clock. Thank you very much for your time this morning. And yes, we'll get everything out, but I hope you all have a good rest of the week. I can't believe it's not that long till half term, but that probably puts everyone in a bit of a panic. But hopefully we'll look forward to seeing many of you on the Monday, the 7th of July at BMW. And hopefully that will be a really great day for us to really focus on working on some of those things that are coming up together. So we really will focus it, rather than having lots of speaking happening, we will focus a lot on actually working together and sort of sharing that best practice, etc. So that'll be the real focus of the day. Perfect. Yes, and thanks, Claire. For anyone in the south of Oxfordshire Learning Partnership, our schools in that area, meeting next Tuesday. That's a face-to-face meeting, isn't it, Claire?
Yes, over at Earth Trust for a focus meeting on green careers. Other careers leads are welcome to come along as well if they want to come. I'm happy to open it up if they want to.
Okay, brilliant. Well, do you want me to send the details out when I send the email out, Claire?
That'd be lovely. Yes, please. Thank you.
I will do. No problem. Timings for the 7th, it will be the whole day, Heather. So we will start probably at about 9 because I'm fully aware of traffic getting to BMW might be a nightmare, and going on to about 2:30, 3. And then we'll have the marketplace over lunchtime as we have before for you to be able to talk to all the providers. Brilliant. Thanks, everyone, and have a good rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.